watched MBT's recent video Murder Your Darlings, where he talks about why you should think about the reason you play Ash Blossom in your deck, and how you shouldn't do it just because everyone else does. For quite a long time I've been thinking the same thing about playing the standard 40 cards in your deck, so that video inspired me to make this one. But recently people have been more open to the concept of playing over 40 cards. A lot of people still do it blindly, because that's what everyone does, or just because it gives you the most consistency, without actually thinking about whether it's the best for your deck or not. And quite frankly, I think that's the wrong way to look at it. Upstart Goblin recently came off the ban list in the most recent January list, and like some of the other hunt hits, this card didn't really get any hype.
I think that Upstart Goblin has definitely lost its luster compared to deck building in 2014, especially with the advent of hand traps, because Upstart Goblin drawing hand traps or something seems absolutely useless. So I don't know, what is this? Like, literally just the only playable deck in the game that could ever run Upstart is, like, Sky Striker?
Back in the day, Upstart was a heavily played card. Making your deck 37 cards by playing it was a nice boost in consistency, and the game was slow enough to where you could afford to play it. This is a massive assumption, as many decks have more or less. But assuming you have 12 starters, going from a 40 to 37 card deck increases your chance of seeing it started by 2.75%. Looking at this purely from the angle that the increase in consistency Upstart gives you, you'll win more games because of it. But Upstart obviously has more problems nowadays, like in conflicting with prosperity and it making you weaker into draw. The main reason it doesn't see play is that people realise now that while the increase in consistency of going down to 37 cards is nice, it's unviable to play Upstart because of the need to draw your non-engine cards, specifically hand traps, as playing Upstart instead of those can lose you the game if it means your opponent gets the combo off. This is to say that it's more important to draw non-engine than it is to increase your deck's consistency past a certain point. If we look at how playing Upstart affects drawing your non-engine, this is another assumption, but going from 12 non-engine to 9 non-engine because you're playing 3 Upstarts in one of those slots decreases your chance of drawing any by 10.88%. Well, it varies by deck. For this specific instance, by playing Upstart, you have to think if it's worth the 10.88% chance to draw less non-engine to have that 2.75% extra chance to not brick. And well, I think you could all see that probably isn't worth it, which is why almost no one plays Upstart, because the downside is too large. That's not to say there's no reason to play Upstart. If you're playing a deck that benefits from having the spells, like Endymion or Sky Striker, or benefits from your opponent having more life points than you, like Gold Pride Punk, it might be worth playing this card for the extra utility it gives your deck. Or alternatively, if you're playing an FTK deck, or one that sets up a board that effectively is an FTK, it might be worth playing it, because consistency is the main thing that matters for those decks, and they're not interested in drawing hand traps to begin with. Looking at Macedor decks or Macedor meta, well, they not only have Upstart, but also Chicken Game, which increases the consistency you can get from this kind of effect even more. Decks that play Upstart are ones where Upstart benefits them, FTK decks, or decks that literally no one plays. So this discussion on Upstart begs the question, if no one plays Upstart because it's not worth increasing your consistency, because hand traps are so important in the modern game, why not go above 40 to draw more of them? Obviously there's ways you can go above 40 without decreasing your consistency, but still allowing you to play more non-engine. Take my favourite deck, Madolche. Magellanian has been cut from most Madolche lists after the Vernisils came out, because you don't get a search effect when summoning her back from the graveyard. Looking at an example of the current Macedor Madolche list, there's 14 starter cards and 16 non-engine, of which 13 are going second cards, meaning the chance to draw at least one of each is 90% and 87.73% respectively. Another stat worth looking at is how likely you are to draw more than one of these going second cards, which is 53.06%. If I add a playset of Magellanian to this deck, increasing the number of starters to 17, the deck will be as consistent as it is currently if you play 48 cards, meaning you can fit in 5 more going second cards and still be as consistent. By doing so, you increase the chance of seeing at least one of these going second cards by 3.95%, which is seeing more than one by a whopping 9.81%, without decreasing your consistency at all. To me, this definitely shows the benefit of going above 40 cards, with how much it increases your chance of seeing those going second cards. That's not to say this is all positive. Magellanian is a weaker starter for the reason I've already mentioned, and not all decks even have the extra starter to begin with to even do this. In addition, the extra going second cards you're putting in might be weaker for the current format, and as such might not be worth it. Think about Ash Blossom. And finally, playing a larger deck means you're less likely to see specific cards. This especially matters for Macedor, as it greatly benefits you if you either draw Maxi or the counters to it. Also, for this specific example, I put 3 Magellanian into the deck. Putting less extra starters means the amount of extra non-engine you can put in will be diminished. All of this shows that there should be a lot more thought going into how many cards you play in your deck than simply playing 40 because it's the most consistent, as there's clearly positives if you do go above 40, but also some trade-offs, so you have to think if that's worth it. Now for the slightly more controversial opinion, I think it's worth it to go above 40, even if you don't put in any extra starters. If your goal with Yu-Gi-Oh is to win games, the entire point of your deck building should be to maximise that winning chance. If you have 12 starters, going from 40 to 41 decreases your chance of seeing at least one by 0.91%, and I should add that if you go second, the decrease in consistency is even less. Also, you won't lose 100% of those games that you brick. If you have 12 non-engine, go from 12 in 40 to 13 in 41 increases your chance of seeing at least one by 1.83%. Another way you could look at it is the chance to see the specific card. For example, if you had a copy of a card you didn't even play before, you have a 12.2% chance to see it, when you had literally 0 before. And obviously 1.83% is bigger than 0.91%, so your chance to draw extra non-engine has gone up more comparatively to your chance of bricking. So you have to ask yourself, is the card I'm putting in good enough to where it's worth this 0.91% brick chance? And if the answer is yes, that means it's more optimal to play 41 cards than 40, and so on for more cards. And looking at pro players' deck lists, the answer does appear to be yes for a lot of them. Looking at the currently available lists from last weekend's YCS Las Vegas that are on Macedal Meta, 69.6% of these lists are playing above 40 cards, with these decks playing anywhere in the range from 41 to 44 cards. I don't know which of these cards are the ones that they're playing past 40, but it's a clear trend that they're playing these decks with more than 40 cards. Obviously how many cards you should play varies from format to format and deck to deck. More generally applicable, the statistics that I've shown you are only specific to the examples I've given. But I hope this video has proven to you that playing 40 cards is wrong. Probably. Don't fall into the trap of following something just because everyone does it, or for low level reasons like Ash works against everything. Or for this specific instant, it makes my deck more consistent. Actually think objectively about your deck building decisions, and hopefully you'll find more success. Maybe even MBT needs to think about this more, as he says at the end of this video.
Or jamming it in your 55.
Now that was probably just a throwaway comment, or is simply using that as colloquialism, so it isn't his opinion. But I think it might be time for that colloquialism to die, so we can all make better decks. Thanks for watching this video. This is my first time doing a video essay, and also my first time reading off a script, so hopefully it wasn't too bad. I'll link to everything I use in the description, so if there's anything you're interested in, it should be there. This has been yugioh100, signing off. Have a good day.